He's one of the most beloved children's authors of the 20th century.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach, Fantastic Mr. Fox and Matilda.
And thanks to some stealthy rewrites, he's finally fit for 21st century consumption. Augustus Gloop's gone from enormously fat to enormous.
How does it make you feel?
Hungry.
And Mrs. Twit's no longer ugly and beastly, just beastly.
Have you ever seen a woman with an uglier face than that? I doubt it.
Matilda's reading list even received an update. Staunch colonialist Rudyard Kipling replaced by Jane Austen.
Well, if Roald Dahl was alive today, he'd be turning in his grave.
Mangled metaphors aside, she has a point. Dahl's books are beloved because of, not in spite of, their twisted humour.
They were troubling, they were sinister, they were creepy. They were an outrage, which is why children have always devoured them.
I think there's a lot to be said for updating some language, and some of the cultural, racial stuff that was written 30, 40 years ago is just completely not okay in the classroom now. You're never going to take away from the fantastic writing of Roald Dahl.
There is some purpose to the meanness. Mrs. Twit's ugliness isn't really about her looks.
If a person has ugly thoughts, it begins to show on the face. And when that person has ugly thoughts every day, every week, every year, the face gets so ugly you can hardly bear to look at it.
Roald Dahl isn't the first and certainly won't be the last to come under scrutiny.
Tintin, have you located my son?
Not yet, but I'm close.
Even our beloved Harry McCleary from Donaldson's Dairy was accused of lacking gender diversity.
However many times I've read that, it's never occurred to me that they were all male. So really, I don't think a kid's going to notice that at all, and I think they're just going to think of them as dogs.
Yeah. Well, joining us now is Dr. Kirsten Zemke from the School of Social Sciences at Auckland University. Kirsten, in your opinion, is this kind of editing necessary?
I think it's organic, and more and more of us, I think we're organically reading some of this material, and we get that kind of feeling like, ooh, did people used to think that was okay, and possibly feel that a lot? I mean, for a long time, a lot of our media and literature was dominated by a particular group of people, and didn't always listen to the voices of others who may say, hey, that's just uncool to say things like that.
People are making these changes, though. Don't they have bigger problems in the world, things they could be concentrating on? Screen use, the corrosion of the young minds through that sort of thing, rather than just a few words in a Roald Dahl book?
Well, yeah, but see, the reason they're doing it is because they just made a big deal with Netflix to make lots of films from these books, and they don't want to spend a lot of money and then find out that everybody's not going to like that. But I mean, we've been doing this for books all the time. Roald Dahl himself changed the Oompa Loompas from being black to be orange. So even he realized and caught himself some of his own racist ideas.
Still, it's a little bit different when the author himself makes the change. Couldn't we just leave it as it is and put a little intro to say, hey, there's some problems with this language, but it was written 30 years ago, take it as you will?
I mean, absolutely, and there are a lot of books doing this. And this is actually all condoned, though, by his estate, his family, his descendants. And so they want to see it change, too. They've literally come out themselves and apologized for his anti-Semitism. And so there's, they have the legal ownership of it.
Lots of us here in the office who read to our kids have been talking about how sometimes we see these things and we just kind of edit it ourselves, or we make a decision to have a conversation with our kids about how times have changed. Could we be losing an opportunity for that kind of chat?
I mean, and some people will do that. I don't think they're being banned or canceled. Everyone's always so worried we're not going to have access to the previous racist, anti-Semitic things. But, it's just hard when you want, you wouldn't let your kid call their auntie fat and ugly. And so, yeah, you can use it as a teaching opportunity if someone in the book says that. But yeah, so I think the older books will possibly still be around.
Kirsten, thanks so much for your expertise tonight.
You're welcome.
Kia ora, New Zealand. Welcome to Monday. Look, Patrick Gower is here. Welcome, Paddy. What an ethical quandary.
No. I was shaking my head the whole time because, quite frankly, they didn't go far enough. Chocolate is a junk food, and it really should be Charlie and the Broccoli Factory, in my view. Right. And those poor Oompa Loompas, I don't know if anybody watching was sad for the Oompa Loompas. They're pretty much slaves. I say free the Oompa Loompas and give them the living wage. Okay, so that's the kind of edits that I'd make. As for James and the Giant Peach, James and the Small but Perfectly Formed Giant Peach would be much better title.
You're good at this.
Yeah, well, the big friendly giant, there is no such thing as a friendly giant. I would say there is a big effing giant, if I ever saw one.
Yeah, you would.
I was sort of against changing anything, you know, like leave it as it is, judge it on its merits. But then I was quite relieved when the kids came home from kindergarten with a different version of Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. So I guess I'm on board.
That one's changed over the years, hasn't it? And all for the better,
Yeah, I think any change probably feels or sounds a lot scarier than it actually is. But as Kirsten says, it's just organic, and it's not like when you go and pull your copy of Matilda out of the shelf, all the words are suddenly going to be crossed out and be different. Like, you can do both. If you were really passionate about the original, keep the original, or if you don't want the admin, buy a new one.